welcome back on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel in full bloom spring mode. Yes, I mean, I know it's full blown, but full bloom sounds much funnier, and you know, because we're going to be using the Spring Blooms stamp set and die cut, and also distress oxide pencils and some heat embossing and this and that today. I thought, you know what, we're gonna have some punny fun today. But maybe that is it. I don't know. I might be done with the puns. But we are going to prep our cardstock. This is watercolor cardstock. We're gonna prep it with our embossing tool. Then we're going to stamp our image, our beautiful tulips, with some embossing ink from Wow. And then we're going to sprinkle our embossing powder on top of this. So this is the Opaque Bright White, super fine details. Make sure we get all those beautiful little details all covered as well. And then we are going to preheat our embossing tool. So you always want to make sure that it's preheated so that the heat is even and hot. And then we're going to go steadily and slowly over the whole panel until the powder is beautifully shiny and melted. So once we have that, and once the paper is cooled down a little bit, we're going to use a watercolor brush, and we're going to get a lot of water onto the petals. We're going to start with the leaves actually. And we're going to add some quite unusual color using a salvaged patina. Yes, we're going to go for a little bit of a crazy look today, because why not, you know? So here we are actually going to go in with a bit of black soot. Now you might be thinking, yo, girl, crazy. Don't do that. But I wanted a really kind of non-traditional look for these. So if you've seen my first video using the distress watercolor pencils, and this stamp set, you might have seen that I've done the leaves quite traditional colors, and then the tulips themselves were quite wild. So here we're going to go the opposite. So we're going to do crazy leaves with sort of teals. What teal? Is it teal? Is it mint? Mints and grey. And then we're going to go with sort of more natural colors with sort of yellow, orange, and reds, pinks for the actual tulips themselves. But I thought, you know, let's just change things up a little bit. It's watercoloring. You can do all sorts of crazy things and come up with some really fun and fab details. So I am using the black soot to kind of highlight the sort of like details and dots to kind of just bring the leaves to life. And then the salvage patina is going to go kind of where the light is going to hit. So it's going to be the highlights, and then the black soot is kind of like the low lights and the contrast. So you can see it looks quite harsh right now, but don't worry, I'm going to be blending it all out with my watercolor brush. And then also once it dries, it does dry a little bit lighter. So if it does look a little bit too harsh and crazy for you while it's wet, just wait until it's dry, just walk away and come back and look at it later, because it could be that it's just fantastic. And then if it's not, it's watercolor, so you can always blend it out or add another color, or just, you know, basically wash it all out with lots of water and start again. Yes, it's just paper. We're having fun, remember. So we are almost finished with our leaves here, and I probably went against my own kind of advice to letting it dry, and then as a complete klutz, I forgot to film most of these tulips. I thought I'd pressed record, and I didn't, but luckily I realized on the last one. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a bit of yellow, and you'll see that I've gone kind of like different on all of the tulips. So some of them have yellow at the bottom, some of them have yellow at the top. And for this one, it's got yellow at the top, and then we're going to go in with a bit of rusty hinge to kind of, you know, bring in that sort of like, I want to say, not mellowness between the yellow and what's going to be at the bottom, but kind of the bridge between the colors, shall we say. And we're going to go in here and we're going to blend it up into the yellow. And one of the things that I really, really, really like about watercoloring is watching the colors blend together and just kind of see, you know, you get a very organic look. So I think that's why watercoloring is so good for flowers especially, because you get a very, very organic look, and I love that. I really, really love that. Plus, you're not gonna have any single flower looking the same. So that is going to take your cost up a whole other notch. And people are going to look at it and think, you color this? Wow, amazing. I'm going to frame this. And you'll be like, yes, you should, because I put my heart and soul into that. Well, I mean, we do a little bit every time we make a card, don't we? We put a little bit of ourselves into every single card. So yeah. But here we are we're gonna go back and forth again with our colors, and we're gonna kind of look where in the nooks and the crannies do we need to add a little bit more color, where do we need to blend. And I must admit that I really like how this turned out, even with the crazy color on the leaves. So that is just, one of those fun things where I was just experimenting, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, well, hello, this turned out really, really fun. So yes, take it from me. Just experiment a little bit. Have fun. Spring is the time for renewal and trying new things. So why not? But while I'm just kind of, on screen, I'm finishing off this. I just wanted to chit-chat a little bit about some of the things that I've also been experimenting with for this video. So I was recently I don't know how long ago it was actually, because I have cotton candy brain after having had COVID last year. It might have actually been last year. My friend Martina sent me the Lindy's Gang's sifters, and they had been they sat in my craft room for a while when we lived in Valencia, because I was so sick, and then I had to pack up our house, and then we had to move, and I just never really got a chance to try them. And then recently I decided, you know what, I have to actually use these, because otherwise she would have sent them to me for nothing, and that's just crazy. So I decided I'm gonna break them out, and I'm just gonna experiment a little bit, kind of make some swatches, because I do love my swatches, and just kind of see what happens and what is going on. But this is the card that I made last in the previous video, so I will link that down below as well, so you can check that out if you want to have a look at that video. But I just wanted you to see how that one looked, and then we're going to have a look at these two together. So I actually colored these two in the same sitting, but I did remember to film a lot more for the other card. But here, what I've done, because I had the idea that I was going to try something, and so I cut this one out of the watercolor card stock, and then I set this aside, and I actually ended up using black cardstock and a black marker to kind of make that really dramatic look. You remember from the photo, right? But then that background, I was like, oh, let's do something with this, because I was thinking, I could kind of raise it up and have something really fun and sparkly. So I decided to use those Lindy's Gang Magic, was it Lindy's Magic Shifters? I will link it down below anyway. So I just thought, you know what, we're going to have some fun with this and just give them a little try. I had never used them before at this point. So I thought, I know it's going to get a little bit messy. So I got my little sort of homemade sticky mat out. And this is just to kind of help keep things a little bit tidier, because I am very messy crafter. So I decided to stick this down onto my little extra mat here with some non-permanent adhesive. And then I got these sifters out, and I just thought, oh, what color is going to go really well to kind of be like a fun contrast to this background. And I decided, at first I thought, you know what, I'm going to go mint. But then I thought, I need probably something a little bit more kind of neutral. So I decided to go for the gray one. So it's actually called Manta Ray Grey, and they all have fun names like this, like Octopus Eyes Aqua and Clownfish Coral. So yeah, super, super fun. So I never used these before, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of try and see what happens. And because they have all these different color pigments in them, it comes out so fun. I mean, oh, I was hooked. I tell you, I was hooked. I have made so many backgrounds. I have made swatches. I have made boxes. I have just had so much fun. So yes, if you don't want to get attached or obsessed with something, don't get the Lindy's Gang sifters, because you will get wow, love them. But when the background was dry, I used a lot, like I'm not kidding, like a lot of foam tape on the back of this to make sure that it would stay flat and don't sag in places, because, you know, we don't like a saggy card. So that took a lot of kind of finessing, because the where I'd actually put the stamp to begin with, because my idea was originally to like cut this out and pop it up, but I decided to actually go the other way around. So we are going to have the image flat, and then the background, which is now going to be the foreground, if that makes sense, is going to be raised up. So we are going to take off all of the backings of these, and then we're going to actually add some liquid adhesive to these as well. And you might think that that is crazy overkill, but the reason for this is to make sure that we have a little bit of extra time to make sure that we get this frame into the right position, because if you don't get it in the right position, it's going to look really weird. So we're going to actually zoom in a teeny tiny bit to see like how you can kind of like finagle this last little bit. So you're going to want to hover on top so you can look down straight, and then we're going to place it into what we think is going to be the right position. Then quickly make sure you get it where it's supposed to go. Use your image as a guide, and then we're going to put a MISTI or something heavy and flat on top of this to make sure that it dries flat. So you're going to want to leave it to dry for a little bit, but it doesn't probably need the 24 hours that the glue sort of recommends. So you're always going to want to test it before you start doing anything else, of course, so that it doesn't start to degrade on you. But then when it is ready to be embellished, we are going to use the absolutely gorgeous Meraki Sparkle Fairy Gardens. So these, I picked these because I felt like they not matched, but they worked really well with the sort of I want to say the background, but I meant the foreground, seeing as this is kind of like a layered card. So with that Manta gray background, I just felt like these had that kind of shimmer and colors that would work really well with them. So I have gone, as usual, bling-a-ling-a-ling, ding crazy. But again, I really wanted to kind of make this sort of super special. And I know I say that with every card, but I don't know. I guess I have a problem. I have a sparkly problem, and I don't want to go to rehab. No. So that is the card done. I decided to actually skip a sentiment on the front and probably just put something inside instead. But that is it from me for today. I really hope you've enjoyed this slightly crazy video, and don't forget to follow, hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you soon again.